3 years ago, one of our children was diagnosed with a condition called reflex anoxic seizures. And this is something that we have, it was initially very daunting, but we now just manage it, and there's lots that I've learned along the way, and there's very little information out there. So I thought I would share our experience and what helps our daughter cope and manage, and some strategies that we have in place. Our experience of reflex anoxic seizures, our daughter will have a bump or a tumble. She will then begin to what looks like she's trying to get her breath, and the best way to describe it is it's similar to The Exorcist. If you've seen The Exorcist, that is kind of what she looks like. Her mouth will be open, her body will start to curl backwards, her limbs will twist, so her arms will twist, her body will arch, her eyes will go into the back of her head, she'll become blue very quickly. In more serious ones, her heart stops, so she obviously then she just looks like a dead child, and she will begin to seizure, so her body will start to shake, and she will groan, and eventually she will stop and she will just come round. And these typically last for us about 40 seconds to a minute. However, in the moment it feels like a lifetime. The first time the first few times this happened, we went to the hospital and we were told that she was breath holding. The first time it happened, I think she was about 8 months. We were told by a consultant it was breath holding, she was holding her breath, and this wasn't the case for us. With our daughter, it is reflex anoxic seizures. So what this means is she has an overactive vagal nerve. So when her body experiences shock or pain, the nerve that sends the messages up to her brain, instead of going into fight mode, her body panics and shuts down, and it's not always like a nasty bump. Recently it was just she tripped up and grazed a knee, and it was something as simple as that, and it caused obviously her body to react in the way that it did. Now, when we first started experiencing these with our daughter, our initial reaction was to blow in her face, because the blow was almost like a shock to kind of bring her round. But in fact, we were making things worse by doing that. By blowing in her face, it was actually triggering a secondary seizure. So that was a big no-no. We are under a consultant who also said do not blow in her face. For us, the best thing to do, and it is the hardest thing to do, is to put her in the recovery position and just wait. Just wait for her to take that breath, and for her to come back round. She will, and they do always come back round. I will add, I am not a medical professional. This is just our experience. So once the seizure is over, the heart will restart and the breathing will restart. And I don't think there's ever been a case where the heart hasn't restarted. And the only serious injuries or serious things that have come from a reflex anoxic seizure is actually like an injury that's happened during. So it might be that during the seizure they've hit the head, but the seizure itself will never not restart the heart. So the best tip for us that we were given was to just, as horrible as it is, try and wait it out. If you can, try and film a seizure. There are so many different types of seizures, and our daughter's had to go through so many not very nice tests, because without the consultant seeing the seizure, there are certain things that will happen within different ones, like the eyes will be in a certain direction that will be symbolic of a type of seizure. And we've sadly never managed to capture one in film because every time it happens we go into panic mode and it is just the last thing we think to do. So if you can try and film a seizure, do, because that is a massive help for a consultant and also for a diagnosis. Another thing that we found was once our daughter was more steady on her feet and more aware of her surroundings, then she wasn't having as many. So she went from having probably 1 to 2 a week, and now it's every couple of months, few months, because she manages her own risk. She is aware that she has these, and she knows that if she's not careful then it can happen, and so it's just kind of a almost like her self-management, in that she knows that if she was to jump from the top of the stairs, chances are she's going to hurt herself, chances are she's going to have a seizure. So she is a little more conscientious with her own play in that way. There is a fantastic charity for reflex anoxic seizures called STARS. I can't remember what the STARS stands for, but they are brilliant. They have some really useful resources. They can put you in touch with fellow parents or fellow people who suffer with the condition, and yeah, they're a really lovely charity and really helpful. There's also some great Facebook groups, parents of children with RAS, and there's a really nice support network. There is so little research on reflex anoxic seizures, which is just such a shame, because there's so many questions that don't have answers. Even our consultant doesn't have a lot of answers. So it is just learning to live with it. We also put care plans in place at both school and nursery, and reassured staff that the recovery position is the best thing for her, and just waiting it out and talking calmly. If you have any questions, or if you are you think that this is something that your child might have, feel free to get in touch. I will link the STARS website in the description box below. Thanks for watching.